I'm going to make this video, if it could just help one person, including myself, then I would have to say, well done. In 1995, first off, I'm Shyla. I'm also known as Copper Shy under my author name. I published 2 books in 2014, 2019. And in 1995 was my first time to ever experience love with another woman. And it was the best feeling that I could have had. The first time for me to be with another woman was the most amazing time, feeling in my heart, the love that I felt. I'm remembering all these things as I walk alone today. Before I get to that part, I thought I would just throw out there that very first time of having somebody in my life, somebody special, because I identified as a gay woman growing up, and it wasn't really accepted back then. So, and it really still isn't. People, they have to even make a visibility day on being transgender. I guess you would consider me transgender. I identify more as, knowing that I'm a female, inside I identify more masculine. I do have a soft side. I wouldn't be like your thickhead masculine. I don't know how else to call it, but I have a softer side, but I do identify more masculine, or some would say tomboyish. But in 1995, I had my first relationship, and I absolutely adored my partner, and we raised her 2 girls, and she was married at the time. When she was coming out of her relationship, she wasn't happy, and so she was kind of deciding what was best for her. She was bisexual. She was trying to decide what's best for her, and should the girls, her 2 girls, grow up without having a father in the household? Is that good or bad? She finally came to the term of, she was going through the motions, because the man that she was with, I'm going to say it right now, rest his soul, he committed suicide. I was told by her mother later on, after, he battled his thing. But it's interesting because he was born September the 24th, 1973. And I won't say his name, and I won't say her name and the kids' name. But it's funny because I'm speaking about my personal testimony, my life story, and the circle of life that I'm coming into conclusion with, and why I'm making this message is this. I was very happy in my relationship, and towards the end of 14 years, it came to a halt, an end. And I could very clearly hear, just as I heard my grandmother would die on my birthday one night when I was sitting at the pool, I could also hear, if I didn't leave, I would die. And for the longest time, I knew in my heart and my spirit what that meant. But when I say, if I didn't leave, I would die, when I heard that in my spirit, when I'm speaking to you, and if you're, a religious, or maybe even just, a straight person, and you hear me being in love and in a relationship for 14 years with another woman, raising 2 kids, and you hear, if I don't leave, I would die, and your automatic response is, well, that's God saying that 2 women can't be together or you will die. And in my spirit, that's not what I felt. And my spirit was, The first 6 years were amazing. There was so much love. It was beautiful in our relationship. We shared everything. We shared our money, our thoughts, our prayers. Our communication was so open. We had so much love. The kids had so much love. They were well dressed, well fed. They were clean. The teachers never had a problem. We didn't have no issues with the teachers. It was obvious, but there was a respect and dignity that it was none of their business any more than it's any of my business to know, anybody who's listening, if you're with somebody, your relationship, your sexual life. There was a respect and there was a dignity. That's been taken away. Now I'm going to get back to the point of, if I don't leave her, I would die. I was so depressed towards the end of my 14 years because of things that were falling apart in our relationship. That, like anybody, will you stay or will you go? Doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, or whatever. In a relationship, especially 14 years, community, house, family, kids, dogs, household items you buy together, all these things that, as a marriage, that now are just, do I stay or do I go? Well, I very clearly heard if I didn't leave, I would die. Because that was the dead end of it. It was completely done. How am I holding on to something she wasn't into anymore? She wasn't there with me anymore. She had moved on. She actually had moved on a lot sooner. I just was finding out. And a year. And as long, I was very good to her kids, so you would think when somebody's moving on, they would completely cut it and say, get out or move on or da-da-da-da-da. Well, I was so good to her kids. Her kids were, 14 and 15 at that time, or somewhere around that age, when it all took place, that I was very convenient at that time of, me staying around while she was out, staying at work and this and that for over a year. You know how things can go. So God was telling me if I didn't leave that I would die. Miserable, basically. So I left. And at that same time, I was finding out my life. And I remember at that same time, in 2010, at the MGM, Las Vegas, meeting an impersonator, Lady Gaga, and God very specifically saying to me, pay attention to her. Well, come to find out, my grandmother was born March 28, 1933, and she passed away on my 25th birthday, which is 333 days after 9/11. So 9/11 happened, then my grandmother passes 333 days later, and then after her passing, I witnessed a little boy getting hit and killed by a big suburban SUV from a distracted driver, and I was pretty much the first one on the outside of that SUV to see him. I was a witness and had to be very strong for the mother of this child, and it was a personal friend of my ex's, and to see her firstborn child on the road like that was not a good thing. And so I pretty much was living like a post-traumatic stress disordered life for a while. My partner doesn't love me anymore. My grandmother dies on my birthday. I see this little boy. What else could go wrong in my life? I was trying to make a successful real estate career, trying to get my family back. I was doing everything possible, but God was cutting my life at that point. I was dead right there. That's how I was spiritually just complete gone. But I do remember God telling me, and I'm going to kind of go back, because if this can help, I've came to the realization of this. I'm not happy right now. Why? I'm happy because I've seen more favor with the Lord knowing him in truth and understanding how Jesus does love me and understanding the truth of what religion says versus what Jesus says. I've seen Jesus very clearly. Now, when my partner was deciding, should I stay or should I go, should the kids grow up without a dad, and should I choose a woman to raise my kids, she made a good decision, okay? That's why she stayed 14 years. The decision of her to find somebody else halfway through the process, she knows why she made that decision. And no matter what I tried to do, I couldn't fix that situation. It came down to a money situation, I'm pretty certain, because money led her to one place, which in that place, somebody came with money and possibly and obviously loves her. And she could see that. It was with a man. So I would say she's probably been with this man as long as she was with me. But remember, she's bisexual. I've not been bisexual. I'm I guess, transgender woman. I identify more male. I'm attracted to females. Yet, my whole life, I would say the transgender community probably has a little more difficult because you identify inside as one way, but yet your physical is another way. And it makes it very confusing for the rest of the world to see that. So I want to testify today and let my heart out to the world, knowing Caleb, and I just said his name. I didn't say his last name though. It's like a full circle. He waited for my ex. I'm pretty certain he waited for her. However, when she moved on away from me, and I know that she cared for her ex a lot. I know that she did because they grew up in high school together. She had 2 kids by him. However, the spirits that are in this world can make more things confusing than just me being the LGBT transgender, okay? The spirits, they don't care if you're transgender or not. I'm pretty certain her ex, as a straight male, when she decided to leave him, he had a wake-up moment. But before she ever met me, she was with him. And whatever was going on between those two was a lot more than what I could physically see. I didn't see what she was going through emotionally with him as she loved him. I know she loved him. I know she loved him. And I know when he took his life, committed suicide, I know that took a big deal on her family, her kids and her, because the amount of what ifs that cross your mind. How could I have been there? All the things. Because this life is definitely something way more complex than many know. And that's why I'm making this. It's because I've come to the realization I'm not happy. Like I said, I'm not happy walking this life alone as Shiloh, finding myself as Shiloh in heaven. That might not make sense to a lot of people, but I know that's the absolute truth. Jacob found his identity. If you know and I'm talking about Jacob, like many should know the Bible. I know the Bible now. I studied the word trying to find myself. Probably like Jacob. Whether he was straight or not, he showed himself to be straight, having 4 wives and 12 kids, Jacob in the Bible, who wrestled with an angel of the Lord, and over an identity problem. Now, ask yourself, I asked myself this. Here I am. I've got 4 wives, 12 kids. Well, I have 11 at the time that I'm wrestling with God, basically. I'm wealthy beyond means. I'm, part of the royalty bloodline. Abraham. I'm a descendant from Abraham. So I'm asking myself, what's my identity crisis? He's also a twin. Jacob is a twin. His brother was like the red-haired twin, the more manly man. Jacob was dark hair, dark complexion, maybe even. They were different. They were both male, but they were different. And he was what you would call the smooth male, I guess, darker features. And his brother Esau was the red male, hairy, and Jacob was not hairy. But there was an identity problem with Jacob. Jacob was different. He was more of an indoors kind of man. Esau was an outdoors, a manly man. So there was an identity. And I'm asking myself, they didn't write he was gay in the Bible. It's possible that you were gay and living a life with a, let's say, as a man, Jacob, he's got 4 wives. You don't know who he is? Now, I know a lot of men out here know who they are. I didn't know who I was, and that's caused me a lot of problem. And not understanding, is it right? Is it wrong? Am I going to hell? Who says? Who says? I heard it from men, all my women, pastors, growing up, kids, everybody heard it from this person, this. I needed to find out for myself, so I wrestled with God. Coming to find myself in the Bible. Shiloh is Shiloh in heaven. How do I know that for 100% fact? Because I tattooed this on my hand because I know that's biblical as well. You want to know, ask me in the comment section when I upload this, how I know that's biblical, to write it on my wrist. Shiloh, was born August 10, 1977. Shiloh in Genesis is all throughout the Bible, but what really made it clear to me was Genesis 49, verse 8 through 10, and it's talking about the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver until Shiloh returns. Now these are the blessings to Jacob's 12, okay? His 12 sons. And Judah, being the number 4th son, is given a blessing. And he's going to rule, basically, until Shiloh comes. Well, Shiloh had nothing to do with the 12. But there was a departing of the scepter, an exchange, a handover from this hand to that hand. Changing of the guard, if you will. Judah is known as Jesus. And every every believer in Jesus knows that Judah is, the Lion of Judah is Jesus. Well, who is Shiloh? Well, I'm coming and have found that being born on this Genesis 49, August 10th, 1977, I say it that way, if you can see what I'm saying, well, you would understand why I feel that way 100%. Identifying as a male in spirit with the body of a female. Not happy. Walking alone since 2010, basically. Few relationships here and there. But like a real deep, intimate relationship that I have with Jesus. I have with Jesus. I say that I have with Jesus because many are just going to find out right now that I went out before this pandemic ever happened. I went out in 2019, and I live in Texas, and I ended up moving to Philadelphia area. And I lived out there 3 months before the pandemic. And while I was out there, I went to many churches. I was very close to New York City. I got to see a lot of New York not for the first time, but I really got to experience life out there. I got to actually live out there for a while, about 6 months, like every day, waking up and going to sleep there. Walking the city, walking the town to go get your, like locals do. It was one of the best times of my life, because all of my life in Texas, for about 40 years, I was told my soulmate is in New York. So I could really be confused about a few things. Because when I found my friend that came to Texas, I was a bit confused at that. I spent 7 years in kind of a confusion on that. I thought she was the one, but sometimes we play little jokes with people just so they'll like us and stay with us. And then it's easier to say, just joking, or that's not the truth in the end, once you've developed that bond and relationship. So I've been betrayed a lot. I've been rejected a lot. And I do know one thing. I don't hate anybody. In fact, I want love so much that I'm talking to birds, butterflies. Yesterday, a ladybug. Even stayed in my car surviving. It's probably still in here somewhere. That's the beauty of God, too. Knowing my heart. And the only way I can imagine this is this. God knows my heart, how I felt, how I feel. I know how he must have felt. And when I say God, I am talking about Jesus. How he walked this earth alone. How he laid his life down for us sinners. All of us. Even if we pretend like we're righteous in all of our ways. Yeah, we're sinners. I even know in the Bible, there is a righteous one. Abraham was considered righteous because he believed in God. I believe in Jesus. No matter what sin, I have proved it. There's times, and God showed me, and he's brought through different people to show me, remember this, remember that? Yeah, I remember. And he's well proved himself that he's not for God either. And he's also telling me it is okay. The same God over the Sabbath is the same God over my homosexuality. That everybody's saying, you're going to go to hell for that. The God of Sabbath that the people were saying, you're going to go to hell for lifting your hand, Jesus. Jesus is saying, I'm the God over Sabbath. He's the same God over homosexuality. It is counted righteous for all those that believe in him. Sinners, I have been walking with Jesus all this time, and he knows my desire. There is nothing I've held back from Jesus. In fact, the sun wouldn't even be shining right now over the chemical cloud parted that the enemy hates, because I know the truth. Me speaking the truth parts the skies. The truth is love. Me speaking about the Lord Jesus and how he loves me, knowing the desire in my heart. Those on the outside and thinking, Jesus, your thoughts are sins. Your thoughts are sins. If you're in this world, you're a sinner. Everything of what you're thinking is a sin. The truth is this: I need Jesus. Regardless, I'm walking alone with a desire and depressed because I haven't seen it physically manifest yet. My desire doesn't change. I'm not going to suppress what I feel inside. He knows. Is it justification? I don't know. I think it's vindication from the Lord. To be honest, I know there's a woman in Luke 18 that's crying for justice. And I know that the Lord God Jesus is the one who vindicates her. But he also vindicates the world at the same time. He's looking for the world with faith. You're going to have faith of this, what I'm saying. I'm telling you, the Lord has showed me who I am. And knowing this, I can't just go out and just say, well, I mean, I can. But what I really, truly want in my heart, it would be like a lie if it would be okay. It would be okay for me to go select somebody that liked me back, that wasn't who I dreamed of, and maybe me even loving another person, a woman, because I already know the truth. I don't feel connected to men in that way. And I know the religious people will say, well, you need to be delivered and all this. I'm going to tell you again, Jesus knows my heart. Inside of Adam was a heart too, but he took a rib from Adam. He didn't take his heart. But inside this woman and my rib is my heart, is Jesus, who paid for me to love freely. And for me to come out and lie and say, oh, well, I need love, so let me just choose a man since I'm a woman, because that's how the natural world thinks, while the men on the natural side is breaking everything. And Jesus saw that too. What I really, really want to say is this. That woman crying for justice can go out and pick anybody, right? But if that woman doesn't like me and just wants to use me, let's just say I, give her whatever I have left, and anybody will freely take that, man, woman, dog. But if it's not love, I don't want it. If a person can't see me right here at my worst and don't truly feel connected to me by the Spirit, by the soul, and what God says is true, I don't want it. Many people, straight people, are going through that life where, it looks good on the outside, but now they know their spirit and they don't get along well. And adultery is just the same sin, but they have to go through it. They have to now divorce. And in the mind, that was all. And so now they're going through a shame or a sin or a regret, when all along Jesus, God, didn't say this is the one. And many are coming to find out. They're coming to find out God paid for that too. I've been walking alone so much, but I'm not going to go out and just choose somebody. And I can't pretend that I'm, completely 100% happy alone. Although I do have the joy of the Lord. I have his trust. I have his heart. I have his spirit. I know what he felt when he walked alone and what he wanted. I want the same thing. I want love. I think it was very special what he did for us. And I would have to say, if you, my true soulmate, have heard this message, know this. I know who I am. I'm not confused anymore. What makes me sad is I can't just go out and choose something that has a flower, fruity, fermented arnica smell because it's on somebody else that has it. Because truly in my heart, I know when God told me to pay attention in 2010 as I was leaving, knowing my heart, how it felt back then, that was the confession that I needed to speak to heal me, because it should heal others to hear this. And then also it was the prayer that I would ask, and I would be obedient to wait. And now I know it is okay. And I also have to wait because I know that I could go out and pick somebody and have a great time. I had a great time. And I would consider this person today, even though I can see right through. And I understand. She don't love me the way that I loved her. But that, I saw good traits in her. And I thought this is how I thought. If she would just check me out and really care, she wouldn't be doing those things. People in her own family saw that as true. But the truth is, she would be a liar. She is not into women. She's attracted to males, even the ones that hurt her. Because she is attracted to what she sees, what she hears, and his pheromones. Now, his spirit is a different story, because then she meets his spirit after a few nights and they're no longer together because his spirits are already gone. Was never there in the first place. What I'm saying is it works that way in all relationships. Straight, gay, whatever. And that part I know. So I can't go out there and just pick somebody that's not mine. I could try to hold on for it. But the thing about when God says something and you finally say, I see. And it was there all along, because the truth is this. In 2010, I was scared. I knew the truth, but I didn't think that person would ever look at me twice. And I'm thinking to myself now, yes, she would. Because truth has been revealed. That person wouldn't have followed me this long if it was not true. There was something special about my life. The completion of what God put on earth. Not special, but God must have shared with her a long time ago something that she felt connected to for her to continue. But what I'm saying is, she knows, and I'm certain she does. But I didn't. So it caused me to go out. I didn't know my identity. It caused me to go out and push her away. It caused me to, sometimes hate things that she would do when I didn't understand. Let's just say, maybe I was jealous, maybe I had envy, maybe I had all these things. And because I had those things, maybe there was pride. All of these confessions that I'm telling you was very chaotic in my life, because maybe she could not explain what she was feeling. Maybe she couldn't explain. Maybe she wasn't allowed to explain. Maybe it would have changed her situation. And I know it would have, now that I'm looking. The truth is this. I think we come to a point where we are free. And God's paid for some things that I probably wouldn't have done, and I know she wouldn't have done either. And it would set the whole story straight on things, and I don't mean sexual. I mean of how perception on half the world probably could see this person. And I say the world. Half the world could see this person has done maybe some things that maybe she didn't know either, because I did some things I didn't know was the right way either. And God still loved me after that. And I know that God loves her too. And the world would probably say, They couldn't forgive her, but Jesus does, and that's all that matters. There does come a certain point, well, she has to tell the truth. And at that certain point where we all come to that day, and we're still walking in lies, well, we're not going to be very happy. Life isn't with lies. The true life, a true life is telling the truth that heals one another, like I'm speaking. So, now that I know the truth, and I also know that the person she's with, funny thing is this, it's a full circle. Which is probably why she found my life interesting, because she's also born on my grandmother's birthday, 53 years later. And I do believe she just experienced something, probably how I felt when somebody major in this world passed. I had no idea that would happen, by the way. It might have appeared that way as I was doing a countdown, but I promise you I did not. I was doing a countdown because God told me, and I do know that God knows, and God knows why he took them. I don't know, and maybe you don't know either, but I do know that he had an amazing life, and it would hurt. Like my grandmother had a pretty decent life, not as amazing as his. He had a longer life, and truly well-traveled. A good life. But I do know how it felt. My grandmother, I'm saying full circle because it hurts. You miss the person. I do too. I also know that the person that you're with, or that she's with, depending on who's hearing this, is also born on the same day as my ex's person that committed suicide. And it's another full circle. And is God telling me this is for that she can live a life because of the adultery, so this is for that, and now I need to be alone? Because God placed that desire in my heart of my soulmate in New York. She's from New York, born there. She's not living there now, hasn't been, but she's from there. She might have some places and residences there. But does that mean I need to be walking alone because that's for that? No, it doesn't. I don't believe that's for that at all. I believe what it is a full circle. And I believe it's a breaking point of, yes, if you're happy, I'm happy for you. I won't fight. I fought the last time. And the only reason I fought then is because she was back and forth on how she felt. And how I felt back then was truly I loved her. But he wasn't very good to her. But if this one is good to you, by the way, he's born on the same birthday as that one's ex's. He took his life because he waited. So I don't know the full story, but I can only imagine. But if who is in your life, and you know who I'm talking to, or for the world to hear, I'm talking about somebody very special to me, regardless of what people that are around me might think and the confusion that I went through. I'm making this video because if he's good to you and you truly love him, it will work. And it will also hurt me. Because I did not know who I was. And I know I would have loved you. But I also know how to let go gracefully. Because it was very hard for me to let go of my first. When God was telling me to let go. And I'm sharing with you as the world, because this is truly how you do it. You let go and you give it to God. I didn't know that back then. I suffered. But Jesus is the way maker. And he knows the life that he created for all of us. And I know this story is so complicated. But at the end, Galatians 3:28, I've got that on my arm, and it can mean another thing. It's very art popish. It says we're neither male or female, right? It says we're neither Greek or Jew. It says we're neither bond or slave. In Jesus, we're all one. So, there is something that the Lord is working with. And whether people will believe it or not. From 2019 to 2023, when I came back to Texas, I went to over 300 churches. And I was not accepted, even though I knew the truth. I knew Jesus. I am seeing things that the body of Christ, that calls himself the body of Christ, or the bride of Christ, would be very jealous if they could sit in this car, sit over here, while my enemies are outside. I feel like David in the spirit, to be honest. And when I say that, I'm not just saying that as a egotistical person. I'm telling you the truth. The government won't ever tell you that. When it's sunlight and it's supposed to be a cloud-covered blanket over my head, but I'm speaking the truth and God parts it, people are not, your enemies are not very happy with you. And yeah, I'm very connected to the spirit realm. I want to say this also to the transgender people, to the LGBT. You are free, but you're only free in Jesus. I 100% say that. I would not be speaking this to lead you astray. This is the life I'm walking, and I'm seeing Jesus' glory in my life. I am seeing demonic spirits very mad at me. It doesn't matter if they're straight, what color, what age, or even the LGBT people. Very mad at me because I love Jesus this much. But I'm telling you the truth. Jesus paid for all of us. Okay? It don't matter. And people say, well, he makes you a new creation. He changes you and he makes you, and this is... No, I'm going to tell you right now. Look at the world. Let's just imagine it's all straight. Man and women, one for one. One in a household. Okay, we should not be having this problem that we're having. Am I speaking the truth or what? Did the sun just shine again? Yes. Let's just say there's no gay people. Let's just say if there's no gay people, then what? It was about the black people, or the Indian people, or the Arab people. It's always something, right? I am speaking the truth. Therefore, I'm telling you, this is how I feel. This isn't just to go pulling on one way because I have a feeling. Yeah, I wish I was in a relationship with the person I really love, that I know, I believe, loves me. Even with somebody else. That person wouldn't have done things. I feel in my spirit that person has protected me. Because she loved me. And maybe she was reaching out before she found this person that she loves. And it does come to a point where you kind of give up. But I also know true love don't die. And that's why I'm saying, if you love that person, yeah, it's okay. I'm sad because in my mind, I can't just change this, but God can. I do have a hope and dream, and I can see the world. I can see the people like me, even like you, need to have the truth and need to feel comfortable understanding that Jesus laid down his life for us, for each of our lives, in our own unique way. He had to have. Look, there's so many different people out there struggling so many different things. We're all sinners on all different levels and ways. And we all need Jesus. And for that is the righteous way. Believing in Jesus is righteous. That's the righteous spirit. Abraham was counted as righteous, even though he did all kinds of things. Jacob was counted as righteous. His name meant deceiver. He was changed to Israel. And I believe that Shiloh in America is Ephraim. Shiloh. I can prove it. The more I walk with Jesus, alone or with my true love in my life, as a woman. Yeah. And I really hope that happens. Because I would love to have a partner in my life to show the world that Jesus is not a liar when he comes to love. And he means it, that he laid down his life. And he gave us permission, the same way he gave the people he was trying to show that he's the Lord over the Sabbath. He's the Lord over the homosexuality. That's what I'm saying. And how else will people ever see the truth? We can make holidays all day long, but people are going to be half divided until they see the truth for their own eyes. And no matter how many beautiful flowers, how many beautiful women come into my life, I can't choose somebody that God didn't place there. Likewise, if you're married, how could you choose somebody that God didn't place there? You understand? If you're married, here comes 100 beautiful women or men. How could you choose somebody that God didn't place there? Do you hear me? So I have to have faith. I have to be patient. I have to show the fruits of the Spirit. As much as it hurts me, God knows. That's what it means to be very close to the brokenhearted. The shamed and confused. The lost. The oppressed. He paid for us. I hope you have a great day. This is April the 2nd, 2024. God bless you. And Jesus loves the world. And I love you. All of you. And I mean it. That's what it means. Love Jesus first. Love one another as you love yourself. So, have a good day.